What would it take for you to leave behind everything you have ever known? Your home, your land, the promises made to your forefathers, and step into the unknown? Today we meet a man, Israel, who faced that very question. And what God says to him in the night will change everything. Shalom everyone. Today's Torah reading is from Genesis chapter 46, verses 1 through 34. This chapter opens with Israel, the patriarch Jacob, setting out with all his household and belongings and journeying towards Egypt. When he arrives at Beersheba, he pauses to offer sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. Midrash notes that Beersheba held a deep covenantal significance. It was where Abraham and Isaac had both called upon God. By stepping there, Jacob was intentionally anchoring his departure in the faith of his fathers, drawing strength from the altars of the past before stepping into an uncertain future. That night, God appears to Jacob in a vision and speaks tenderly to him. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt. This reassurance was weighty. Jacob was leaving the land of Canaan, the very land promised to Abraham, Isaac, and himself. God promises that he will go down with Jacob and that he will make Israel into a great nation in Egypt, and that he will surely bring them back again. Intimately, God adds, Joseph will place his hand upon your eyes, meaning Joseph would be present at Jacob's death, a profound comfort to a father who had long mourned his son as dead. The Talmud reflects on Israel's descent into Egypt as the beginning of the exile, foretold to Abraham in Genesis chapter 15. Yet, even in that exile, the text emphasizes God's presence going with them, teaching that the divine presence accompanied Israel into Egypt. Exile was not abandonment. Even now, the children of Israel remain scattered across the continent of the earth, separated from their homeland, exiled from the land promised to them through the covenantal faithfulness of God to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yet the scattering is not the silence of a forgotten people. It is a silence before a great thunder. Just as the children of Israel were taken down into Egypt, and approximately 430 years later, brought out by a mighty hand of God the Father under the leadership of Moses, so too shall the children of Israel, who are presently exiled among the nations of the world, be gathered and brought back to their land. And this return will not merely be restoration of a people to a place, it will be a preparation to meet the Messiah. The prophet declares that the future gathering of Israel from all the nations will so eclipse the exodus from Egypt, that towering miracle of the parted sea, pillars of fire, will fade like a shadow in the light of what is coming. The exodus will still be remembered, but the greater gathering will be spoken of more. Prophet Jeremiah says in Jeremiah chapter 16, verses 14 and 15, The days are coming, declares the Lord, when it will no longer be said, As the Lord lives, who brought the Israelites up out of Egypt, but it will be said, As the Lord lives, who brought the Israelites up out of the land of the north, and out of all the countries where he had banished them. For I will restore them to the land I gave their ancestors. So now Jacob then arose from Beersheba. His sons loaded him, the little children, and the wives into the wagons Pharaoh had sent, together with their livestock and all the possessions they had accumulated in Canaan. The entire household made their way down to Egypt. Beginning in verse 8, the Torah meticulously records the names of the sons and grandsons who came to Egypt, 66 individuals in total. Together with Joseph, his wife, and his 2 sons already in Egypt, the full count of the house of Israel who entered Egypt were 70 souls. The Midrash draws attention to this number 70, connecting it to the 70 nations of the world listed in Genesis chapter 10. Just as the nations of the world were number 70, so does the family of Israel, suggesting that Israel was created as a spiritual counterpart and witness to the nations. Jacob sent Judah ahead to Joseph to prepare the way to Goshen. When Joseph received word, he immediately harnessed his chariot and went out to meet his father. The reunion was overwhelming. The father and son fell upon each other's neck and wept together. Jacob, overcome with emotion, declared that he was now ready to die, having seen with his own eye that Joseph was alive. Imagine how it would be for the Jewish people. There will be much gladness and joy for them when they recognize their Mashiach. Like Israel is happy to see Joseph, so also the people of Israel will be happy to see the Messiah when he comes. This reunion also echoes the parable of the prodigal son in Luke chapter 15 verse 20, where the father sees his returning son from a distance, runs to him and falls on his neck weeping. Yeshua likely drew on the imagery of Joseph and Jacob to paint this picture of God's heart towards those who were lost and now found. Following the reunion, Joseph gives his family careful and practical instructions. He tells them that he will go before Pharaoh and announce their arrival, and that they are shepherds and herdsmen who have come from Canaan with their flocks and cattle. He instructs them, when Pharaoh asks about their occupation, declare plainly that you are shepherds, as your fathers were before you. The reason was strategic. Shepherds were regarded as an abomination by the Egyptians, and so the family would be permitted to settle separately in a fertile land of Goshen, away from the Egyptian society. There is a fascinating tension here. Joseph, the second most powerful man in Egypt, is essentially coaching his family to lean into their lowly identity as shepherds to secure their separation and survival. Rabbis note that the separation in Goshen was a divine gift. It prepared Israel's distinct identity during their centuries in Egypt, preventing total assimilation. What looked like social marginalization was actually divine protection. The name Goshen itself has been linked by some commentators to the Hebrew root word meaning drawing near. Even in a foreign land, God was drawing his people near to himself, positioning them for the exodus that would come generations later. So what do we take away from Genesis 46? Quite a lot. But one thing is this, that when God calls you to step into the unknown, he does not send you alone. He says, as he said to Jacob, I will go down with you. The same God who promised to bring Jacob back also promises to bring you through. And sometimes what looks like exile is actually the road to destiny. The 70 who went down into Egypt became a nation of millions. Your small, uncertain step today may be the beginning of something greater than you can imagine. So stay faithful, stay rooted, and trust the one who goes before you. Until we meet tomorrow for our next Torah reading, stay blessed.